Have you ever wondered if there's a faster way to grow your wealth through property? Well, after more than 200 property sales and creating millions in additional property value for my clients over the last 12 years, I've discovered that there's a secret to quickly scaling wealth in property that's simpler than you might think. You just need to choose a strategy that allows you to recycle your money in and out of highly profitable deals within a few months, not a few years, without losing any. And the best strategy I've found for doing that is large HMOs. Now, I've spent thousands of hours studying what elements go into the perfect large HMO that gives the biggest likelihood of the property tapping into this infinite money glitch and letting you extract 80, 90, 100% of your initial investment in just a few months, and how to reverse engineer that process to find investments that will do that before you even view them. And in this video, I'm going to explain what exactly this infinite wealth building glitch is, how it works, and at the end, I'll give you access to the intimate numbers from some of our own properties that show it working so that you can quickly start to implement this into your own strategy. But first, let me show you some proof that this isn't just some random occurrence and that we can reverse engineer this back to first principles like I've said. All there is to do after that is go find some. Look at the two properties on screen. The one on the right is a residential family home. The one on the left is one of our large HMOs. They're both on exactly the same street, next door to each other, but the property on the right has a value of around £400,000, and the property on the left was valued at over £900,000. And the difference in the valuation comes from the method through which the property is valued. One uses a brick and mortar valuation, the other uses a process called a commercial valuation. And honestly, this is the key concept for understanding how to build wealth quickly in property. By gaining a high valuation by following a process, you can dramatically increase the value of your investments in year one and pull out 90 to 100% of your initial investment as long as you followed my process. Now look at this property. Again, it's a large HMO before we bought it, and it's on a terrace with neighbours either side. It was purchased for £275,000, converted into a large HMO with a valuation of £805,000, and we released £604,000 with a commercial mortgage. But here's the thing, with all of the purchase costs, build costs, refinance fees and everything included, we spent less than £604,000 in total. So ultimately, a free house with high cash flow and ready to buy the next one in under 12 months. And that's what this infinite wealth building glitch is. It's making use of a strategy that allows you to add serious value to an investment and walk away with the funds in hand to do your next one in only the time that it takes you to do the project and then refinance it, or less than a year. Now, obviously this method isn't some sort of guarantee that your next investment will be able to do this, but it will put it in the best position to do so. So let's break down how this works, why it's so effective, and at the end, I'll link to a video that gets more tactical in how to actually find these opportunities and what to do when you find them. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this infinite wealth building glitch is a refinancing strategy, but it starts a lot earlier than that, before you've even started looking at specific properties. And that's key. By knowing how to look at the investment from the perspective of the valuer, we can start to reverse engineer this process. And if you've ever watched any of Alex Hormozzi's videos, you'll be aware of a term he uses a lot, which is EBITDA for valuing businesses. Now, commercial valuations work in a similar way. The property is valued on the income that it generates, not the brick and mortar value. Here's how that works. We take all of the gross rents, minus the running costs, and divide by a multiple. That's one of the reasons that this can't be used for buy-to-let, as the gross rent isn't high enough and investors end up slowly running out of capital, having to wait years to refinance, which stalls their growth. As large HMO investors, we can control what the gross rent will be by adding bedrooms, providing a product that tenants want to pay for, and we have control over the running costs too. However, the valuer will use their own process to make a deduction that they see fit for the running costs, and then compare other HMO transactions in the area to establish a market yield, so that they can value the property. So forget build costs and purchase prices and all of that for now. To grow wealth year on year, we need to optimize for gross rents first and then establish these two figures so we can reverse engineer the entire process from the very start. Just so you're aware, this changes a lot from valuer to valuer. Some deduct 30% for costs, some 25, some 20, and market yield changes from area to area. And in the Southeast, we commonly see 8.5, 8%, or 7.5% used. So I'd recommend watching this video where I go into it a little bit more and how to find that out before you buy. So let's add some numbers to this equation. If our property brings in £100,000 a year, and £20,000 of that is costs, or 20%, and the market yield is 7.5%, we can get a valuation of just over £1 million. But here's the interesting thing. Let's assume for a minute that we're close to the answer. There's a whole lending industry that supports this style of refinance with banks like Shawbrook, Hampshire Trust Bank that lend on investments that are valued in this way. And we can see the mortgage products that they're offering and the rate before we buy. So let's say we have a 75% mortgage product and a £1 million valuation, just as an example. That means that we can reverse engineer our total project costs to fall around that £750,000 mark and still walk away with all of our initial investment ready for the next project, and still make thousands of pounds a month in net income from the property because we own it. And if we don't have access to capital to do that ourselves, we just factor in borrowing costs into that total cost and use a bridging loan or development finance to make up for the shortfall. That kind of lending is just too expensive for buy-to-let. Imagine having a pipeline of these properties secured and into legals ready to complete, or buying at auction to cut the purchase time to less than 30 days. So buy-to-let has become a really commoditized business. Investors providing almost identical properties to the market, keeping build costs and purchase costs as low as possible, and waiting for a potential gain sometime in the future with capital growth, and trying to do lots and lots of deals and making a couple of hundred a month and still needing to wait 6 months to remortgage and then up to 5 years before they can refinance to buy the next one. But the strategy I've shown you is just the flip reverse of that. We are reverse engineering the refinance, adding the value ourselves in year one, and then extracting the value that we've built through our planning gain and our gross income gain, and then recycling that additional value to future projects. So it's about solving for these gross rents, choosing the small amount of opportunities that have this potential, and saying no to any opportunity that isn't exactly that thing. Now, would you believe me if I told you that we've developed a simple 4-part framework to finding these properties, and that it doesn't even require you to do viewings, stack the deal at this stage, or even leave your house? It's called SIFT, and it's how to find the best large HMO opportunities. That video's on screen now. See you in there.